Well, hey, Calvin, welcome to Coffee That Pops.
Laura, thank you so much for having me. I am pumped to be here.
I know I'm so excited. I think this is my first official podcast where we're doing it on video and then also repurposing it as audio. So,
Well, I am just super pumped to be a part of that.
yeah, you can be my guinea pig. And then anyone who's listening, now you know to go back to the show notes at copythatpops.com/podcast and look for the video. We'll embed it in there too.
Let's do it.
Cool.
Speaking of video,
Yeah.
I'm just going to do this. This is my Snapchat audience. Say hi.
Hey, Snapchat.
Podcast interview with Copy That Popped. Follow Laura Peterson. What's your handle? I'll quickly on Snapchat.
Yeah, so it's Laptop Laura.
That's it. You
Yeah,
got that?
I know. So I was usually using my initials before, but every time I said it, people were like, "Wait, what was that again?" So like, it wasn't easy, it didn't roll off the tongue, and it wasn't memorable. So I changed it to Laptop Laura, and Snapchat's the only one I couldn't change my name. So literally last week before we met up at YEC at the Entrepreneur Convention, I just like made a new Snapchat with Laptop Laura, so I just have to transfer everyone over there.
So, LAPTOP and then Laura LAURA.
Yeah, some alliteration for you.
That's sweet.
Cool. And what are you on Snapchat while we're at it?
Calvin Wayman.
Oh,
That's where I'm at everywhere. I'm lucky I have my name, what it is, I guess. But
yeah,
I'm Calvin on all the socials, my website, everything's just Calvin Wayman.
I know. I'm so jealous. Laura Peterson was not available. Well, cool. Okay, so how do you introduce yourself at a networking event?
Great question, because I mean, the way you said that, like at first I want to be like, oh, I'm an author, speaker, entrepreneur. Like that's kind of my headline. But when you're networking, it's actually way less professional, I think, than a lot of us try to make it. I think it's
Yeah.
all about being human, right? Just like, I mean, you just mentioned that event. We were privileged to have Jake Paul there, right? So we can use that as an example. You and I were just sitting there at the table, and then I went over and started talking with Jake Paul, and now we're connected, texting a little bit back and forth, doing some email exchanges. So how did that happen? Um, in the very best case, if you can get somebody else that knows that person to introduce you, that's one of the very best things. I was privileged enough to have that. I had a mutual friend that was there talking with Jake, and so I was like, hey, I'd love to be introduced. And he introduced me, and it's more like warm. You're now more on a peer level and not a fan level.
Right.
I'll talk more about how to get off that fan level. And just start talking to him like a human and seeing what he's up to, and just be be interested rather than being interesting. Like instead of like, oh, I want this person to like me, find things about that person that you're genuinely interested in. And that usually just makes that quick connection. So that's huge. So again, if you can have that warm intro, that's good. Jake had seen me around the event, so he kind of already had a little bit of familiarity and was like, didn't I meet you? And I was like, I've seen you, but I'm glad to finally connect. And then we started talking. Now let's say that you don't know, you don't have a mutual friend, or you see somebody that you've wanted to connect to, but you don't know how to like get in the door. There's still probably, first of all, why do you want to connect with that person? The answer to that question is you'll probably find something there that is in common, some connection. That's usually where I try to start all of my conversations. And by the way, I wouldn't overthink anything I'm telling you, because even what I'm saying is not something that I said, oh, I got to do all this just right. The only
Right.
reason I've been talking about it is because I've been getting the question a lot
Yeah,
lately.
because you're really good at it. Like,
Yeah, people have told me that, and I'm
seriously.
just, oh, really? I am? And so then they're like, what? And I'm like, well, I guess I need to start thinking about what it is I'm doing. So, so don't overthink it too much. But again,
Can you remember what you said to Jake Paul specifically like a few days ago?
absolutely. So, um, I'm so kind of a thing that I'm interested in right now is getting more speaking, right? And I had heard that that was Jake's first ever public keynote.
Right.
So that was the first thing, and so I was on that level. And so this actually goes into another point that I think is important to get off the fan level, and that is
Yeah.
don't be so, how do I don't be so fangirly. Be appreciative of the work that that person does. Like, not, oh my gosh, you did it. Like, almost like you're inquisitive, like you're curious about it. Like, how did you do that? Like,
Right.
so what with him, I was like, dude, I heard that that was your first ever keynote. Is that for real? Like, for real? And he was like, yeah. And then we just started talking. And then, of course, a thing that I hear all the time is from all of my other millionaire mentors is if you want to connect with somebody, provide value, right?
For sure.
Now, before I tell you what provide value is, let me tell you what it's not. Provide value is not telling them, hey, if you ever need anything, just hit me up.
Yeah,
Let
that's too general. It's too
it's
broad.
you don't want to put it on them to have to figure it out.
Right.
See if there's something that you know, maybe even thinking in advance how you can help them. So I've been in the speaking game coming on about a year now,
Hmm.
and I've been privileged to be in some big keynotes in front of as much as 2,200 people. And so I just started asking him about that. So that was really your first time. Good grief, more people got to hear about that. And he started saying, "Yeah, I wish I could do more." And I was like, "Is that something you really want to do?"
Right.
And yeah, and I was like, "Well, I don't know if it would be useful to you, but I could totally like give you some things that I've learned over the last few months, like how to position yourself, how to get booked, how to do all these things." And he was like, "Dude, that'd be killer." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Awesome."
Oh,
And then
amazing.
immediately within 45 seconds, 2 minutes, he had my phone entering in his cell phone and his email and stuff like that, and that's just where it starts from there. Um, and it's all very specific to the person. Can you hear that ringing?
Yeah. Party foul.
Let me turn that off.
Naughty Calvin.
Sorry, guys. If this got cut out, my phone just rang, but I think
Oh, that's
I
okay.
I killed it. I hope I
We'll
did.
leave it in. It's authentic. It's real.
Okay, there we go.
Was that Jake Paul calling? Oh my God.
No,
Just
not
kidding.
Jake Paul. But again, it's specific to what that person needs. Another example I think that would be useful is I was at an event where Ty Lopez was the keynote.
Hmm.
Same type of a thing. Just went up to him and started he was on Periscope. I was deep into Periscope, so kind of a little connection there. I'm like, dude, how you liking Periscope? Yada yada yada. And then he started telling me things he liked or didn't like. He's like, the thing I don't like is I have so many fans that they all can't comment. And I was like, well,
Oh.
what you can do is if you have your computer in front of you, which I know you do because I've seen your Periscopes, just tell people to comment on your Twitter because it's the same channel. And in fact, you can train your audience to do this because I know other people do it. They could click share to Twitter in their app and it goes to Twitter for them.
Hmm.
And then instead of sharing the broadcast, they just have your @ sign right there and they could talk to you right there. That way you can interact with everybody. And he was like, dude, that's genius. I didn't know you could do that. And I was like, yeah, a lot of people do that. And then I was like, by the way, aren't you trying to grow your email list with your social media? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, I'm wondering why you don't have, I'm just curious, why don't you have a link of something in your Periscope profile? And he was like, I didn't know you could have a link. And I was like, it actually just came out a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, you just put it right here. And he was like, dude. And then he was like, Maya, and had his right hand woman come over and was like, connect with Calvin. Like, we should have him come to the house. Hey, bro, do you have a course? And then Ty Lopez and his team ended up buying up my Periscope course
Wow.
from me.
Wow.
Like,
Yeah.
just so I think it's just being interested in them, being curious, and finding ways to provide value with no strings attached.
Right.
You
Not
know?
like, hey, I have this book. You want a copy of it? You want to promote it?
Yeah, if there's one thing you can do to stand out like crazy, most people, especially the more successful they get, they're surrounded by takers. 100% surrounded by takers. Even when you're a fan, let's be honest, most fans are not even going to say, oh, I love your stuff. They're doing it for themselves.
Yeah.
They're being takers like, oh, I was with this person. I got a selfie. And
Right.
you want to just step out of that level and get beyond their level, treat them like a peer. What can you not just fan about? What can you admire about them? What can you ask questions about? What can you be inquisitive about? And man, they are, I think, even more than regular people, I think people of high status are actually craving
Yeah.
that real human
Yeah.
connection because it's freaking rare. They don't get it. because everybody around them is kissing their ass
Hmm.
or trying to just get something from them or take them, whether it's a shark from Shark Tank and they're trying to get funding for their thing and like, dude, let me pitch you on why you need to be my mentor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they're human beings. So what is something that you can do to add value, no strings attached, and be genuinely interested in them? To do that, I think it would be really, 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 really hard to not stand out.
That's amazing. I mean, that alone is a huge tip for networking the right way and connecting the right way.
Yeah,
Everyone needs to implement that.
it's worked super super well for me. And in fact, I kind of make fun of the word. I mean, I changed the word networking to
Yeah.
making almost like
Yeah.
one of my least favorite places to network. Interestingly enough, is actually at networking events
Hmm.
because people usually have their guard up. They're expecting that
Right. Right.
stuff like the very best places I've ever connected with people is in more of a setting where it's like let's be human together, like
For
let's have a
sure.
conversation and let's take it from there.
Yeah. For me, I usually don't even go up to like the headliners at conferences and stuff because I just feel like that's not the right environment to even try to make the personal connection like you're talking about because they're just naturally on guard. So I much prefer it when it's,
Even there, I don't know, I'll even hold that back. That's where I've
oh,
gotten most of
really?
my amazing connections. That's the, in fact,
Hmm.
it's really easy, I think, to stand out there because everybody else is fanning them, like fangirling
Gotcha.
them. If you do the same type of approach, what I did with Ty, again, that was at an event. When I
Hmm.
first became friends with John Lee Dumas, same thing. Connected with Gary Vaynerchuk. Like, it's all like everybody else is like, take, take, take.
Yeah.
And if you just go up and be like, it's like, for example, it isn't even always, sometimes it is just a genuine conversation and you're not giving a ton of value.
Right.
Um, Influencer, if you'd call him that I was just thinking about is what's his name? How did I forget his name? James.
Say it
How
again.
could James Altucher.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not, so he's written 18
I
New York.
love him. Like, I haven't met him in depth in person, but I just love his style. He's like kind of nerdy and like
Yeah,
real. I love that.
he's totally human, and I think it was probably a good thing that I didn't know how big he was when I first met him because I met him at an event. He was just outside the room, and then he and I ended up chatting for like an hour,
Oh,
just just me and James, people coming by saying hi, and all that was I mean I first commented on his hair or something like, dude, when was the last time you washed that or something? Because he had this crazy hair. And just had conversations, and then just started talking about anything from him losing millions of dollars to doing crazy stuff. I had just ready to run 50 miles. He was like, dude, did you fricking do that? Like, we just had this conversation back and forth. And then I connected with his girlfriend and everything. We've been great friends, especially through social media and everything. And so even there, I wasn't even in my brain of like, holy crap, I got to figure out something to give James Altucher, else I'm going to lose my moment. No, it was just like, here's a person. He's quirky. He's nerdy. He's interesting. Let's have a conversation. And I think since they don't get that very much, they're probably craving it. And it proved right with him because we just sat there and talked. And it was a great time at an event.
yeah. I love that. So, can you, let's see. Oh, I already asked you what you said to Jake Paul then. Okay, so how do you typically introduce yourself at a networking event? Or is there no right answer? It just depends on with whom you're speaking and what's the feeling that you're getting right then in
Yeah.
that moment.
So I always like to find something that we're connected to. So um, if, especially a mutual friend, like it's easy to see if you have a mutual friend with somebody, and chances are, at least since I've been to so many events, there's somebody that I'm connected to that person's connected to. And if I find out, or even if it's not a person you're connected to, but a thing, a
Hmm.
concept you're connected to, I just go up and I shake their hand and say, hello, I'm Calvin Wayman. And I say that like on a level of we're on the same level. I
Hmm.
don't be like, oh, you probably don't know who I am.
Right,
I'm just
right.
a fan. I shake their hand firmly and say, hello, I'm Calvin Wayman. And you might even say almost like maybe they should know who I am. Like I just say my name with firmness, like I'm Calvin Wayman. We have mutual friends in Lewis House, or I noticed that uh, you just wrote your book, dude. How have you written 18? I just barely came up with my first one and it was insane. Like just something like that you can talk about and let them talk about their thing that they're passionate about. Like what's their process in it? Like you're not just talking about the surface level content. You're like, dude, how did you like go let one layer deeper? How did you do that? Like when you first started your podcast, JLD, like you must have had people tell you you're crazy for doing it 7 days a week, right? Like where did you even get that? And let them tell you like, oh yeah, dude, let me tell you. Like just some question that shows that you're interested, introduce yourself, put in one little connection, whether it's a personal connection or something that you have in common with them. Ask a question, be interested instead of interesting, and it just will go from there.
I love the psychology of all that. That's great. That's really good.
Yeah, the psychology of it is it's interesting, and again, I think that part of the why it works is people we're social creatures. If I had a video right now, I wish I could show you a video of what I just barely saw of somebody doing the exact opposite. You know what Sundance is? The Sundance Film Festival?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So somebody just showed me a video where these people literally will sit outside to see a celebrity. And I'm fine with that. Like if I wanted to meet a celebrity, I might do that. But how they then approached the celebrity blew my mind. This guy was in the middle of doing an interview talking about how he's meeting celebrities there, and he's like, oh, there's so and so, some real famous dude, and he just goes up to him, doesn't even introduce himself, doesn't say hello, has his camera on a selfie stick, and he's like, hey, can I get a picture with you really quick? And like super excited, the guy's right there and is like just was in it for like less than 5 seconds. He just kind of looked at the camera and got a picture, and he's like, thank you so much. Like it was, and I looked on the celebrity's face, and it was just like, are you real this again? Like, that's what you don't want to do. Like, it's almost like you're treating them like they're not human.
Yeah, it's almost dehumanizing. Yeah, they're like a thing.
Exactly. It's not even admiration. It's a commodity. It's an object. Nobody wants to feel like an object. They want to be admired. They want to feel loved. They want to feel cared for. That's the psychology. That's our human need. And so, I mean, I think if you approach that, like I was in Houston just the other day. And again, I didn't even have anything totally in common with this person. But again, treated him like a human, and it worked. I ran into Ted Cruz, the presidential candidate, in the Houston airport. And I just shook his hand and said, hello, I'm Calvin Wayman, and had a little conversation for a little while. And he was super friendly, nice. But I think if I would have been like, oh, dude, it's the president, or could have been the president, let's get a selfie just like that, then it would have felt cold and everything. But we had a little bit of a conversation, and I was like, hey, do you mind getting a picture? And he's like, absolutely. You got a phone? Let's do it. You know, Treat him like a human. That's what it comes down to. Treat him like a human, and you'll create a friend.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and for me too, it's like, I value so much more a friendship that could lead to something, whether that's business or not, because I don't think that every relationship has to lead to a business deal or publicity for my business. It could literally just be like, wow, we really get along great and awesome. We're friends. I find that so much more valuable than like, let me just grab a picture or say I met so-and-so. It's more of like the long game rather than the short-term thing.
Oh, you just put it right there. It's the long game. And in the long run, I would way rather do business that are my friends anyway.
For sure.
So if I don't see something that that person can give me right now, or that I can sell them, but I think they're cool, like I have no idea if me and James Altucher will do anything in the future. He's cool. I will hang out with him any chance. I don't know if there's anything me and Gary Vaynerchuk will do in business, but I will hang out with him any chance I get. He's just a cool freaking, and I think that's the where you go with it. If you're interested in them, then have a conversation, and that's where the connection will come from.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I don't want to talk about your past too much because I can do that in the intro. But tell us more about what you're working on right now with your social media agency.
Right now, it's just growing it. I'm getting deeper into historically, it's been mostly focused on branding, and it still is. So content creation, posting it for our clients and stuff like that. But now I have a bunch of clients that their brands are so freaking solid.
Yeah.
And it's more like, okay, let's leverage this to get more leads, more business now. And historically, if people have come to me and say, I don't need it too much help on branding, I just need Facebook ads help, then I would just refer them to one of my friends or partners.
Mm-hmm.
But now that's a big focus of mine, is bringing Facebook ads in-house.
Gotcha.
With my clients that have solid brands now, so that we can leverage the brand to get leads that can turn into prospects, that can turn into a client and business for them.
So what are some tips around branding then? Like how do you define this person has solid branding, like their brand's on point now?
Something that I think you and I have I know both of us love Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah.
And the question is why? Because he does not appeal to everyone. So why do people like you and I, why do we like him? It's because he's real. It's because he's himself. And my personal philosophy on this, and it's gotten deeper the more I go into branding and social media, is I believe that you and I are different people, right? We're separate. We're different. We have commonalities, but we're different. There's things I love about Gary Vee, but he and I are different. There's Gary Vee and Tai Lopez are both influencers, but they're different.
Right.
Every single person, I believe, is already a snowflake. So I think the trap that people fall into when they're focusing on branding is they're looking to who they either want to look like, or they're trying to do it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
I think the best thing you can possibly do is get super clear on who you actually are, what you actually believe in, what you actually stand for, and post about that. Because when you do that, an interesting thing happens. You post about what you believe in, what you stand for, and everything. You create a divide. You create this split. You'll get people that don't give a shit about you. They'll unfollow you.
Right.
Awesome. They weren't your ideal client anyway. But you get people that also believe in that. And they become your best fans, your best potential clients. And this is a little bit tough.
Right.
A lot of people in the beginning, because they're like, well, I don't know if I want people to know that what I truly think.
Can you give an example? Because is this just around business philosophy, or even like religion, or
it can be even religion, depending where you want to go. So a good example is I had a client who I was like, listen, he was like, I just don't know if I want to be very controversial. And I was like, well, if it's what you really believe, then let's post about that.
Because that's how I feel right now. So I would love your advice personally.
Yeah. He was like, dude, I have this video idea, but I don't know if I should post it. In fact, I just shot it. Should I post it? And I was like, what's it about? He was like, I'm bashing the heck out of the school system. Like, it's like, I know some people are gonna hate it, because I'm like I hate everything about public school. I think college is horrible. Like, I think it ruins people, and it needs to be gone. And I think I could get so many haters. I just don't know if I should post it. And I was like, well, hold on, Seth. Do you believe that? Like, do you actually believe it? He's like, oh, with all my heart. Like, if I was sitting with my buddies talking about it, I would go off. And I was like, then hit send. So publish that. Yeah. Because if that is you, if that's your truth, post it. And it was perfect. Like, it got a lot of buzz. He had some people that were like, dude, like, you shouldn't do this. But overwhelmingly, because his audience is the right audience, the people that follow him for him, like, supported him. And like, I totally agree with that. And there are people that become his clients that want to talk to him more and get on their phone like, dude, I just love everything you're about, because you're saying stuff that honestly I only say in private and would never post on social media.
For sure.
So that's my rule of thumb. What do you actually stand for? What do you actually believe in? Post about that, no matter how controversial it seems and sounds, and do that. And I'm experimenting with this a little bit more with my stuff. I don't know if you saw a post, and I'm Christian. And one of the things that I posted, I have a lot of Christian friends. This created a lot of buzz on it. Is I created a post that said, "There is no savior," and that was the post. But then the content was a breakthrough that I had when I quit my day job, which was I woke up one day and realized I've been waiting for the right opportunity. I've been waiting for this perfect thing to come to me. And I was like, and how often do we wait for that? Do we want to change until we get that right boyfriend or girlfriend. We don't want to act until the perfect business opportunity comes, that promotion comes, the perfect thing comes. And I was like, the breakthrough I had and the breakthrough I want to give you is you're it. There is no savior coming to save you. If you want to change, you have to change. So I posted that. I thought it was super clear, especially people love the comment. But I had so many people that come in like, dude, I can't believe you posted that. And like, of course there's a savior, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, did you read the content? Did you read the thing? So I'm explaining, I'm totally into like playing with the edges and seeing what will drive people a little bit crazy, because I mean, that's the game I'm in and that's just my style.
It's so smart though, psychologically, because it catches people.
And it's a conversation. Yeah. So be true to who you are, and yeah, you'll stand out.
Yeah, because as we've talked about, I'm like the opposite. I'm agnostic/atheist. I think science is like the best thing so far that we've got, and it's always evolving. So let's go with that. But I never say that stuff because I feel like the climate in the U.S. is so Christian, so religious that it's almost like,
you know what is so funny?
Alienate people.
Yeah, I love talking to you because my Christian friends do the exact opposite. They're like, this country is going so godless. The world's going to come to an end because like there's like nobody's
so
we're becoming Christian. It's hilarious.
And I think we're good despite religion. Like I think it's naturally human to be empathetic and ethical and want to help each other at the root of it. And I think we're actually that good despite religion trying to make us pick sides and kill each other because they don't believe what we believe.
Yep.
So it's funny.
I feel you. Like I get it. I had some fun conversations and I look forward to more over a beer or something.
Yeah, we have good conversations on that. But I never share that publicly. So I probably need to step into that more.
Yeah. And maybe you could find a way to make it business. I mean, there's some things I guess I don't share a ton. Like I don't share a ton with my family, but I guess that's more of a I don't want to do something they don't want to do type of a thing. Like I mean, I'll still post some things about my wife or my son Archie, but it's not big.
Yeah.
I stick mostly to what I believe in life in general, in business and stuff like that. So, and Gary Vee, for example, he doesn't post about his family necessarily, just because they want that their kids to be able to choose when they're old enough to choose if that's something they want to go. So there might be parts of it, but yeah, if you believe it, put it out there. Let's see.
Yeah, I'll test the waters a bit and see what happens.
Okay.
I like that. So let's jump into talking about your book a bit, because I'm working right now on a course around how to hit Amazon bestseller. Ooh, there's a picture of it for anyone who's able to watch it on the video. Awesome. Fish Out of Water. So tell us about why you wrote it and maybe the process that you took to write it and get it out of your head.
Got it. So I always wanted to write a book. And then in January 2016, I was going to write a book someday, like when I was 35, 45, 55, like whenever I deserved it or whenever I was good enough. But then in January 2016, I came across this little young gentleman that you and I now have a mutual friend with, and that is Caleb Maddox.
Oh my goodness, I love Caleb. Hey, Caleb.
So that's when I first met Caleb, was in January 2016.
Gotcha.
And I thought, here's a dude that is on stages with people that we've already talked about here, people I admire, like Gary Vaynerchuk, Grant Cardone. He's now been on the same stage as Tony Robbins at Funnel Hacking. He had a six-figure business, and he had written his own book. And for anybody that doesn't know who Caleb Maddox is, here's the punchline. The dude is 15.
Now, but he was just 14 when you met him.
He was 14 when I met him, and he was 12 when he wrote his book.
Oh, my goodness.
So I call Caleb my excuse murderer. Like, he just pummeled it. Like, that any excuse that wasn't even an excuse in my head, it was solid reasons that I had to write my book later. Like, that just killed it. I was like, if I'm ever going to write a book, I'm going to do it this year. In fact, I'm going to do it in the first half of this year just to make myself freaking do it. So I set the goal to have it done by July 14th because that was my wife's birthday. I got it done and published by July 1st. And the whole point of the book is the best way to describe Fish Out of Water is how to go from awkward to awesome.
That's good.
It's something that's not talked about. There's a lot of books that talk about how to go from average to awesome, but in goal setting, like this is where you are, this is how to get to. But I feel like when you're going from average to awesome, there's this stage that is ignored on your path, and that is the stage of awkward. You feel weird, and you feel weird because you're doing something you've never done. You're like, you almost feel like you can barely breathe. You feel like a fish out of water, whether you're jumping into entrepreneurship, starting your own business, writing a book, getting into speaking. It feels freaking weird.
Right.
The tragedy is when most people hit that awkward stage because they feel like a fish out of water, just like the analogy I use in my book, just like a real fish can't be out of water for long, neither can you. So most people end up just reverting back to where they were, their old fishbowl of mediocrity. They go back to their average. What I hope to show is awkward is a good thing. It means you're progressing. It's where you want to go. And here are the principles, the steps to break through that awkward, to get to awesome, and to become what I call in the book a shark.
Very cool. And so what was your process like? Because I think some people feel like it's such a mental undertaking to write a book.
I was stuck for a long time. So what I'll give you is a tip to like get it out of you. I tried so many methods to actually writing it. I would just like try to type it out, and then I'd like hit the same thing or hit writer's block, or I would just stop, or I found myself repeating the same stuff and I didn't know where things were fitting. I tried recording myself on an audio and then transcribing it, and nothing really worked until I did this one thing, and it's going to sound super high tech. Here's one. I bought these Post-it notes. I bought Post-it notes. And what I did is I literally, any idea that was a main idea that was in my head, I wrote it on the Post-it note and I stuck it to my wall. Any idea like, okay, done's better than perfect. That's a main idea. Put it down. Or story of Gary Vaynerchuk getting an accountability coach, and that's what helped him lose weight. Write it down, stick it to the wall. And any idea, I just I puked it out of me. And that's the most important thing. Let it be messy. Let it be disgusting. Just anything that you have that might be tied to it, get it out of your system. So I wrote it down and stuck it to my wall. And then something interesting happened. So once it was out of me, it's so interesting how it all shifted. Because when you're writing a book, the first thing in your head as a new author is, do I even have enough for a book? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I have enough content. And when I put it out of me, I had a wall full of Post-it notes. So I was like, whoa, this is way more than a book. And some things that were on the wall weren't even applied to the concept I was talking about. So I was like, oh, that's another book for later.
Yeah.
And so I moved them away. But then since they were Post-it notes, I could then take them and put them here and start organizing the concepts, right? And it changed everything. I went from thinking I had 7 major ideas to 3. It was 3 core concepts that I didn't know what they were until I put it out, and then saw that the other ideas were just subpoints of the main core concept. And then when I'm looking at the core concepts and like, what else? Then it triggered like another thing. I put it on a Post-it note and stick it there. When I did that, it was just one day sitting down, getting that done, everything flowed from there.
That's
like
awesome.
It became so easy, because if I don't know what to write about and I see a Post-it note that I just take and say, done's better than perfect, awesome, I know how to talk about that. This is how I've applied that in my life. Then I can start typing away. And if I feel like I'm done with that topic for a little bit, I'm like, well, I'm going to go take another one, start typing about that, and then go back and then add or edit. Like, the editing part is the fun part. So if you can just get it out of you, that's the most important thing, then it will be easy. And that way I did it, just got it out. Post-it notes, stick it to the wall, get it out, and go from there.
I think that's genius. 2 examples to add to that. I did that for working on a course around how to do podcasting, how to start a podcast. I literally wrote every single idea, and then I put it into little sections and reorganized it, and it just gave me such clarity up on the wall. Yeah, and then Pat Flynn said the exact same thing about Post-it notes literally a couple weeks ago at one of the
What?
meetups.
Are you?
Yeah.
Is that like around books or around what specifically?
I think around a course. So he was working on an updated
Whoa.
course for his how to do podcasting, and he said everything was on post-it notes, and I think he even like had it on his computer, and so he would just look at what's the next post-it I need to record, would record the video and throw away the post-it, and it felt like success every time he
Mm,
threw away a post-it, you know?
that is
But
so.
yeah, so all three of us are on the same page. I love that.
Yeah,
That's really good.
that's super cool. Pat's kind of the one that helped me kickstart writing my book too,
Oh
because
yeah,
I thought I needed to have like thousands of dollars in book orders, and he was like, "Dude, just do it through Amazon, and
exactly.
your book is printed on demand. And if you need to fix any mistakes, like that was another big fear. What if it's not perfect?
Right.
Then ship it, just publish, and if somebody finds a mistake, fix it, and then every book from there on out is good." I was like, "Whoa, no way."
Speaking of which, here's mine. I know
So
it's not up on Amazon as of our recording, just because like I need the designer just to fix a little bit on here, and I have a couple of things like, for example, we talked about my Snapchat. I changed it to Laptop Laura. Actually,
mhm,
all my handles, so I need to update that inside.
got
But
it.
in a matter of weeks, it'll probably be live by the time this interview is published.
Are you doing it through Create Space?
Yeah, exactly. I upload it in CreateSpace, and then it talks to Amazon Kindle, and then it's all on Amazon once you do that. So
Love it.
yeah, you can
So
do
wait,
everything now.
yeah, super easy. We just got to get out of our own way and just
Exactly.
submit, just publish. Yep, love it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love your post-it note approach. I think I'm going to do that for the next book. Actually, I want to write a vegan cookbook by the end of this year and hit Amazon bestseller with that.
Really,
As I'm so into veganism now.
I would buy that. I'm thinking of. I want to experiment going vegan, not forever, but
Yeah.
like maybe like 3 months or something,
Yeah.
just to see what it does. Just because I recently finished a book called Eat and Run,
Ooh.
and it's from a guy that's an ultra marathon runner that is insane. Like he's run
Wow.
like multiple 100-mile races, like 130-mile races in the desert of California.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, he was one of the first ultra racers that was 100% plant-based, all vegan. And people were like, dude, you have to be eating all this meat for your protein to do all that stuff, and he proved him wrong. So it was
Did you
enough to
know?
say,
Did you know there's almost as much protein gram for gram in pumpkin seeds as there is in steak?
no idea. Good to know. So I can just put pumpkin seeds in my salad.
Exactly. You sprinkle it
Yeah.
all over. I put it in like little trail mix. I make like homemade trail mix with like dried cranberries,
Huh?
dried coconut unsweetened, walnuts, pecans, pumpkin seeds, and like, oh, it's
That
addictive.
sounds delicious.
Yeah.
I would give that a shot.
Cool. We'll have to do a round two and just talk about vegan recipes. Well, cool. Well, thank you so much for your amazing advice. I think there's so much to be learned from your journey because you've only been an entrepreneur for what, 2.5 years now? 2 years?
I quit my day job in 2015.
And you're just killing it. So people need to follow your example, learn from what you've done, and apply it. I think it's awesome.
Yep. And if there's anything I can say there, I talked about it at the very beginning. Don't overthink it. Just get out of your own way. I like any of the tips I gave here. I'm not saying follow it exact. Like if there's anything I want you to follow exactly, it's what I'm about to say. Do it imperfectly. Like just take consistent, imperfect action. It's way better to do than to be perfect. Like just kind of on a little rant here. It was just funny. Like I had an old friend that was just barely critiquing me on a keynote that I did, one of my big keynotes in front of 2,200 people. Like, you could have done it this way, you could have done it that way. And I ultimately just said, it was a keynote. Like, some of my best friends have never done a keynote. Like that's the win. Like, do that. Like, the first one's not going to be perfect, but you do that, you're going to learn, you're going to go somewhere else, right? So when you're moving, you're going to have people that you love or that care about you that try to say, maybe do it this way, maybe do it that way. But just showing up, being in the game, starting your podcast, writing your book, starting your business, going, whatever it is that you have a dream of doing, just the act of doing it imperfectly is the win. You keep doing that, you can't help but be successful.
I love that. It's so true. And it's so true. Like for me, public speaking, I've always been like, I'm scared of it. So I spent what, 5-6 years not doing it. Whereas
Right.
if I had started it 5-6 years ago, I'd be like killer now.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. That's totally right. Yep. Just jump in. And if you follow, one of my favorite, since we talked about Gary Vee a few times on here, one of my most inspiring, and this will tie it to this, and I think it's a good story to end. Gary Vaynerchuk inspires people like crazy. I'm one of them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One of my most inspired videos of Gary Vee, he did not post this year. He did not post last year. It's an old video I found of his. Was one of his first ever videos when I was just searching his name, like between the years 2005, 2008, like
Oh, wow.
where like the first time he's mentioned, right? And one of the videos that inspired me the most is when I saw him give a talk, and at the end he opens it up for Q&A. Now you and I know that that's where he shines. I mean, he has a show called Ask Gary Vee. He has books called Ask Gary Vee. I've been to events where he talked for an hour and then did a Q&A for like 2 hours straight. That's what and people are lined up ready to ask a question. He opens it up for Q&A, and guess what happens?
No questions?
Nothing happened. Exactly. Nothing happened. He gives us talk and he opens up for Q&A, and there's crickets. He's like, anyone? Just one question. I'll pay you. Like, if you ask. Like, nobody asked. In fact, he got a couple hecklers. And it totally killed the energy of his talk, and he ended up just saying, okay, catch you later, and went off stage.
Wow.
And it was like half-hour applause because they had no idea who he was. He was just this crazy dude on stage and stuff like that. And I'm like, that is Gary fucking Vaynerchuk. If he's that in the beginning, and I see where he's at now, suddenly it makes it a lot more believable that whatever the dreams I want to go after, it can happen. If I get in, I can be imperfect just like that. I may not be able to see myself having $100 million agency right now with 650 employees, but I can imagine me being on stage and messing up just like he did, just jumping in and being imperfect. So if I can do that, I'm suddenly on that track mentally and believability wise. So all in on that, jump in, do it imperfectly, take consistent imperfect action, and you'll win.
Awesome. I love it. And if people want to connect with you, you're on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all of them at Calvin Wayman.
That's the way, man.
That's the Wayman. That's a good way to remember it. And Calvin like Calvin and Hobbes.
Exactly. There you go. Calvin like Calvin Hobbes or Calvin Klein. Yeah.
Oh, true. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for jumping on with me today. I really enjoyed this conversation. I think the audience is going to love it.
Hey, this was a ton of fun, and I look forward to seeing you at some other point in the future.
Oh, we run into each other all the time networking. I mean,
Yeah.
making friends.
Exactly. Okay, see you next time.
Bye. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to learn more about improving your writing, hitting Amazon bestseller, psychology, or other topics I might currently be obsessed with in this online entrepreneurial world, then go to copythatpops.com. You can also connect with me on social media with my handle at LaptopLaura. See you there.